After a little bit of a bumpy ride throughout the season, She-Hulk's finale finally arrived. So what can we expect? Will the Hulk King be revealed? Do we have some more cameos? Well, let me say this much. Strap yourself in, because this one is getting wild and weird. If you want to know more, then follow me for this review video. Last week's episode ended with Jennifer running amok and losing her cool because her computer and cell phone were hacked and her most private things, including a sex tape, was screened behind her on a big screen for everyone at her gala to see. This landed her in prison because she is now considered a public danger, apparently not able to control her inner Hulk. This situation soon gets resolved by a plea deal that is offered to her, which basically comes with the same arrangement that was given to Emil, aka the Abomination. If she wears an inhibitor, she can go outside, but she is not allowed to ever again transform into the She-Hulk, a deal that she has to take. This of course leads to great changes in her life. First off, the job at the firm she was given came with a caveat that she has to be the She-Hulk all the time. So that doesn't work anymore, so that job is gone. Being out of work, she's also losing her apartment, which forces her to move back into her parents' house, where she has to share her childhood room with her mother's workout equipment. As she still cannot get hold of Bruce, she is reaching out to Emil, who had offered that she can come visit his retreat whenever she needs it. Even though she doesn't reach his phone, she is going there, because whenever includes right now, right? Meanwhile, her friend Nikki has used an embarrassing video of Jen to upload to the Intelligentsia site in an effort to try to make contact with the Hulk King, which actually worked out fine, and she even got invited to a big meeting that day. As the Hulk King addressed her as bro though, she is pretty sure that she will not be welcome there and therefore asks her colleague Puck if he can go. Reluctantly, he gets in and plays along with all those men inside who apparently are all involuntary virgins, because they are such haters of women in general that you wouldn't even believe the stupid stuff they are telling. Puck soon recognizes one of the attendants, which is Todd Phelps, the weird guy with the She-Hulk fetish, who tried to date Jennifer as the She-Hulk and also came onto her in one of the last episodes under the guise of calling her for legal reasons. That guy revealed himself as being not only the Hulk King, but also the creator of the Intelligentsia site. While this is going on, Jen has arrived at Emil's resort, and asking for Emil is being directed to one of the buildings on the compound, where Emil apparently is hosting a gathering. And this is where the two storylines are getting connected. Because, as it turns out, there is a guest speaker at the event of the Hulk King, which is the Abomination. So we see Emil coming in his Abomination form, high-fiving everyone around and being about to hold a speech. This is when Jen enters the building and sees Emil in his Abomination form standing in front of a clapping crowd, not even realizing that this is an Intelligentsia meeting, of which she is soon being made aware of by Puck and Nikki, who also just strolled in. However, Emil explains to Jennifer that he is not on the Hulk King's side. He is just taking paid gigs to appear as the Abomination, wherever he can get them, to earn a little bit of money. Next thing, Todd is revealing that not only has he paid Josh to sleep with Jen, but also to steal her blood, from which he has created a serum that is supposed to transform him into a Hulk himself, which he is then injecting himself live on stage, which after a small blunder actually seems to work. And while he is bulging his muscles, this is when this all goes apeshit. Because now Titania is coming crashing through the wall, announcing her wish to fight the guys. Just a few seconds later, Bruce comes crashing through the ceiling and joins the fight, however attacking the Abomination, who, in turn, has already started to protect Jennifer, who is not allowed to transform into the She-Hulk to protect herself. As all hell has broken loose, Jen is addressing us, breaking the fourth wall, saying, "Is that the ending that you were expecting? Is that what you want?" And then not only breaking the fourth wall, but breaking basically everything and going full meta, she is stopping the show and we see the Disney Plus menu. from which she is just reaching out and stepping from her show's logo into another show, which is Marvel Assembled, because she wants to have a talk with the creators of a show. Now being in complete meta mode, She-Hulk is walking into the writer's room and demanding to hear why this ending is happening, and they just say, "This is what Kevin wants." So she asks to talk to Kevin, which they all say is something she will not be able to do. So she sets off to see who everyone would assume to be Kevin Feige, and fights off some security guards to break into his office. But what we see there is not Kevin Feige, but a computer called Kevin, which is an anagram that stands for Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus. So basically an AI that, based on its algorithm, creates the content that Marvel is putting out. To go even more meta, Kevin also addresses her to please transform back into Jen because that is cheaper to produce. With even the transformation he asks her to do off screen so that they can save that money. Jen then, referring to the fact that she is a lawyer, is holding her closing arguments trying to convince Kevin to change the end. To which he then actually agrees. And these are the changes that Jen demands. First off, Bruce should not come back because she didn't reach him all the time, and just to shoehorn in an explanation of where he was and what that means for the MCU is something that could wait for another movie. It should not happen at that moment. So he is gone. She also doesn't like the fact that Todd actually was successful in transforming himself into a Hulk. So the serum is also gone. And she also says that Emil needs to be held accountable for the fact that he has broken his parole. And she also wouldn't mind that Daredevil would make another appearance. So with that all said, she's returning to her own show, continuing. But we are not jumping back where she left off. We have basically skipped all the action and are now landing in the aftermath, where we see Todd being arrested. We see Jen in her She-Hulk form not being arrested, even though she also broke her agreement that made her get out of prison. We see Titania live streaming the whole thing. Emil is signing an agreement that makes him go back to prison for at least 10 years. And then Daredevil literally falling from the sky to also join in, but to be told by Jennifer that everything is already figured out. We then cut to a family barbecue where we see Jen and her family welcoming Matt Murdock aka Daredevil to join them for a nice meal, where actually he is the one being grilled, pun intended, about his intentions toward Jen and what that all might mean for the family. This is when Bruce shows up, again in his smart Hulk form, and to everyone's surprise introduces them to his son, named Scar, who also is a full-grown Hulk. The show then ends with Jen being back in her She-Hulk form, again being allowed to work as a lawyer that way, where a reporter is asking her what her plans for the future are, and she says she is trying to help the innocent and will go after the guilty, to which the reporter asks in her capacity as a lawyer or as the She-Hulk, where she just says both. As at the barbecue before, it was highly implied that Jen might join forces with Matt Murdock to either work with him or following his path. We can be pretty sure she did not go back to her previous firm, but is doing this thing now, either alone or with Matt. This week we again, of course, have a mid-credit sequence because it's the season finale. So here we see Emil being broken out of prison by Wong, showing us that Emil now has taken Wong up on his offer to get asylum in the Kamar-Taj. Okay, this one is really a tough nut to crack. How do we like this episode? That is the question. On one hand, this is something they have never done in the MCU before, because this is so meta, you cannot even think about where to start. It just doesn't feel as if it is a good fit for the MCU and if it really belongs there. But on the other hand, you also have to applaud them that they did something that was completely different. But is bravery alone and the intention to do something different enough to consider this something good and successful? Even though the fourth wall breaking prepared us a little bit for something strange in this show, I have to give it to them that this ending was completely unexpected. And though I was amused about how they did it and laughed a little bit when she was stepping out of her own Disney Plus menu, I also felt bothered at the same time, so I am really torn about how to feel about this. The same is true for integrating Kevin as a character, because of course everyone thought that was Kevin Feige, and to integrate himself into the MCU appeared to be a little bit pompous on the chief content officer's side, but then also allowing to make fun of himself by being portrayed as an AI without any human emotion is also quite funny. But still, it has the bitter taste of this whole becoming a cult of personality around Kevin Feige. And of this kind of personal cult, I think we have seen enough lately. Even though I'm a little bit torn here, the thing that really can be objectively criticized is the fact that they have jumped basically over the main finale action part and just jumped to the conclusion without even explaining everything. Because first of all, the question is, why all of a sudden every charge against Jen was dropped just because she could prove she was provocated? I mean, everyone saw her as a danger because she lost her cool, and this hasn't changed. I mean, she still could lose her cool anytime soon. So the catalyst was being explained away, but the reason behind her imprisonment is still valid. So that doesn't make any sense at all. It also didn't make sense that Daredevil could just show up with police being around. Because in his own storyline, as far as I can remember, he would have been arrested by the police if he ever showed up anywhere. And the fact why Titania was showing up is still completely a mystery, especially since they have built her up to be the villain, and now she was coming to her help without even knowing that she was doing so. So she really is just there for the sake of being there, which is not an explanation at all. And again, shoehorning Matt Murdock into the show felt forced, even though I like his character and I embrace him being there. But like I said last time, they should just have introduced him earlier in the show, maybe even have them become friends before learning about the fact that he is Daredevil. Maybe even working together at that point, giving the friendship and then the relationship just a little bit more room to breathe and to become something of substance, and not just have it feel like a checkmark someone just wanted to cross off his list. And what was up with Jennifer's blood? Didn't Bruce say that only she, due to her specific DNA makeup and being related to him, allowed her to transform into a Hulk? So all of a sudden there was a serum that should have worked if Kevin would have gotten his way? That also doesn't make sense. I mean, sure, Bruce has destroyed her blood and said that it is too dangerous to keep it around, so maybe that was the reason for that, but still, it seems a little bit too easy. And why was Todd previously so interested in Jen? Just explaining it away by him being jealous seems a little bit far-fetched, because he looked like a fanboy and actually wanted to get into her pants. So this twist was possible, but still seems unlikely. What really seemed unlikely though is the fact that Nikki uploading one video is earning her an invite to the group. And then to their biggest meeting where they reveal everything? That also was a little bit too easy. Of course, again, a lot of these inconsistencies could be explained away by the fact that everything that we see in the end is meta anyway. But this is also a cheap cop-out to just say, hey, we are a meta show, so we don't need to care about logic at all. So from whatever vantage point I look at it, it is a little bit unsatisfying, even though it was entertaining as well. And on a personal note, I felt a little bit bummed out, I don't know why, to see the Hulk introducing his son. We have not seen what happened there, and he is also all grown already. So what was going on there, and do I like it? I would say no. I would have much rather seen him meeting someone and then maybe having a small child growing up and not just having a son just shoehorned in as well. Everything here felt so forced. On the other side, also on a personal note, I was quite disappointed in the fact that the Abomination was throwing in with the bad guys. Fortunately, they came up with somehow of an explanation and saying that he was only taking paid gigs, but still I'm disappointed that he took the gig from that group. To his credit, he was fighting to save her and was protecting her, so that in my book he still is one of the good guys, though he really came close to being a villain again. But I guess they also wanted to showcase that fact by him in the end being taken in by Wong, which pretty much makes it a sure thing that he might show up in the future. I still think he would perfect to be in the Thunderbolt movie, but we will find out if he is cast there in the future as well. But I also just remembered that there was a rumor that maybe Benedict Wong gets his own Marvel show, which also was a little bit hinted to at the end of the show when Tim Ross asked Benedict Wong if he was busy dropping in into another show. So maybe this show is really coming, and now it would be pretty clear that Tim Roth would be also in there as some kind of an odd couple. And add to that the fact that Patty Guggenheim as Medicine also left quite a good impression with us. As I mentioned in a previous video, she would also be perfectly fitting in there. So we already would have 3 of the main characters for that series. So, could be happening. With that all said, let's get into the rating, which is really difficult this time, as I just mentioned. But before we go there, let me ask you to like and share this video if you enjoyed it so far. And if you are not a subscriber yet, maybe consider to change that. By also hitting the notification bell, you will get a heads up for most of my new videos. Now for the rating. Let's start with what I just said. I really felt entertained with this episode, so at least 6 points out of 10 should be fine. But can I give more than that? We definitely have found out that there is still a lot of room for improvement, so it should not be better than a 7, because most things were not well done this week. I could now just go the easy way again and say it's a 6.5 out of 10 just because it's somewhere in the middle of it. But let's say just for the reason that they were at least trying something different, even though it might not have perfectly worked out at the end, is enough to give myself the push to say okay, let's go with 7 out of 10. And this is what I will do. It will be interesting to see what they do with Jennifer in the future, because there was that one joke that the AI Kevin made about seeing her on the big screen, where when she asked, "Really?" he said no. So will she be on the big screen? Because her being such a fourth wall smasher and the whole meta thing makes it tough to really fit her into a movie. Except for maybe, and maybe that is what they are working towards, pairing her up or making her appear in the Deadpool movie, even though there is already Wolverine involved. So maybe her asking Kevin if the X-Men will be introduced soon is an indicator that maybe she, on paper being a mutant herself, might be also included in that movie. So that would mean we have Deadpool, Wolverine and the She-Hulk. Not sure if that is a good fit and how they would pull it off, but it could be a possibility. But the much more likely scenario is that we will keep seeing her on the small screen, as Kevin said. So if the show was successful enough, then likely in a second season. And I guess we can count on her being part of Matt Murdock's life in the new season of Daredevil. Either in a supporting or a major role. That remains to be seen. But we can count on her at least showing up there. Maybe even moving to Hell's Kitchen. And if so, I guess she can easily convince Nikki and Puck to also join her at Murdock's law firm. And as a good lawyer needs a good PI and some muscle, I would assume that maybe Jessica Jones and Luke Cage will either have minor or larger roles in this new Daredevil show. But back to She-Hulk. What about you? Did you like today's episode and was it satisfying for you as a finale? And where do you think you will see Jennifer next? Will it be on the big screen or will it be on the small screen? And where would you prefer? Or do you have enough of her for now? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. So much for now. See you next time and thanks for watching!